Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is our chess program on Pod TV. My name is Sasha Star, and to today's panel, we have Ken Regan. Professor, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Yep, it's a pleasure
Always
to be
great
here
to
again,
see
as
you.
always. Yep.
And Jim Ida from Ida Foundation. Welcome to the show, Jim.
Thank you for having me, Sasha.
We also have founder of the network, Nick Poliveda. Welcome to the show, Nick.
I guess I'm a chess player, so I do count, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Actually, Ken,
2300. So
we were in the same national high school back in 1975.
wow.
And if you go look at the scorecard, we had the same scores. It's the one Fedorov's won.
Okay.
way.
Yeah,
So
that's fair. Yep.
That's good to know. And Nick was 3 times Florida chess champion.
Yeah, it was 3 times
Yeah.
state
It's
champion.
remarkable. And
I saw
Ken,
Fedorowicz at the Canadian Open in July. In July in
Mhm.
Hamilton.
did you
Yeah.
really?
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember. Seeing
Anyway, sorry, Sasha, I interrupted you.
Yeah,
no. Actually, I wanted to ask you to give us the latest chess news and show a couple of games which
Yeah.
we discussed before the program.
Sure thing. Thank you very much. Yeah, so there is one major tournament going on right now with 480 players in Vrnjačka Banja, Serbia. There's the European Individual Chess Championship. And so it had 2 decisive games that I will share. And one of them was the game on first board, and I'll do that first. Okay.
Okay.
Now
Yeah.
just wait a little bit for it to cycle, but let me know when you see Sarana versus Korobov.
Okay. Yes.
You see it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this was Anton Korobov was the sole leader with 7 out of 8, a spectacular score, and but Sarana was in the group on 6.5. I mean, this is an 11-round tournament, but the field is pretty large for an 11-round tournament, so you need a strong score. Usually 6.5 could be sole leader in a smaller tournament after 9 rounds, but after 8 rounds. Yeah,
Well, there's so many people.
yeah.
Is this for a title of some kind, a zone title, or is it a?
It's the European Individual Championship. I'm not sure if it qualifies directly into the World Championship. I should probably have looked that up. But,
okay.
But no, it probably does not, because that might be too much continental favoritism. But I shouldn't mention that. I don't know. However, what's also notable about the tournament is is first of all Vasil Ivanchuk and Boris Gelfand both playing, and especially Gelfand has been doing notably well. But there are not too many of the world's top 40 in the tournament. It's a elite tournament up to 2,700, but then only a few others. So in fact, it's going to be hard to find.
Both playing.
Yeah, among the leaders in the tournament, I'm not seeing any 2,700 ratings, but there are 2 of them in the tournament, if I remember correctly. Okay, so. But now, by the way, Alexei Sarana is sole leader with 7.5 out of 9. And he got there by virtue of winning this game. Now, there's another dimension to this. As you can see from the flags, this is the FIDE flag, which Russian players have, and Anton Korobov is from Ukraine. So you might think, and get a frisson, but actually, Sarana is quoted in this article that we showed 2 weeks ago
On chess.com.
On chess.com. He exited at the time of the war a year ago. He exited for Belgrade, so for Serbia, where this tournament is, and his father is Ukrainian, and he made immediate statements. Okay, so what our government is doing now is absolutely disgusting. I cannot accept it. I cannot do anything about it. I have no sympathy for the war. All the reasons are absolutely terrible.
Do you know a very interesting decision came from Wimbledon tennis tournament? They will allow Russian and Belarusian players to play on the condition that they will not praise Putin, Russia, and all that stuff, and they will sympathize with Ukrainian cause. We'll see how it will work, but
That's
that's kind
that's
of interesting.
Yeah, it is a change from the previous Wimbledon
Yes.
policy.
Yeah.
In this country, we have Alexander Ovechkin, who's a Putin supporter. He is
Yeah.
playing hockey every night, so it's a very difficult question to negotiate. So anyway, so the point is that you might look at the flags and think there was extra blood, but as far as a match for first place in the tournament can go between players from these two countries, this might be as close to a friendly encounter as you might imagine. But in fact, it's simply a very interesting game of chess, and I will henceforth present it that way.
Thank you.
So Sarana is white, and we have the
Bogo.
Bogo Indian defense, and there are so many ways for black to play here, and this variation gives an imbalance of pawns where black is strong on the queen side, but so I have to say too, I forgot to look at what the extent of book is, but I'm going to care its first time at turn 14. Okay.
Yeah, I play the Bogo a lot, but I don't play the C5 line, so
Yeah.
I don't know either.
Yeah. So you letting white get a center. And now see, when I see a position like this as black, with white not having a dark squared bishop and d4 a potential hole, I think, yeah, dark squares. Oh, I'd love to put my knight on c5 after dislodging white's d-pawn. And, plays this instead. So the other knight can go d7 to c5. And this is contending for control of e5. And there we go, e5. I like this. Okay. So now we come to, for what for me is a fateful move in the game. Okay. And now I'm referencing something I saw about 5 days ago. There was a discussion on Twitter about different ways to make Luft. Okay, so whether you do it with G6 or H6. And I don't know if making Luft at this point has to be black's main preoccupation, but if you're going to do it, do you want to play H6? Okay, now possibly you might be worrying about weakening this diagonal with white having the Bobby Fischer bishop. Or do you make Luft with G6? But wait a second, you don't have your own Bobby Fischer bishop, or your dragon bishop, I should say. There is no black dark squared bishop. So I looked at this first, and I thought, well, if you're going to play, because I saw what black's move was, and I thought, no, if I'm going to play one of those moves, I would definitely have played H6 rather than G6. To tell you the truth, I would rather play Queen E7 in this position. Maybe I have to worry about knight H4 and the knight coming in.
Yeah.
And that actually might be some of the ultimate logic here, because if you play Queen E7 as black, why don't I do that? And now white plays knight H4. In this position, you're probably going to play G6. Also, white has hung something. You know, so white has actually just hung the d-pawn. Never mind. So I'm playing positional motifs without regard for tactics here. Let's try again. If you play Queen E7, no, that's the move that black played. If you play Queen E7, okay, then, okay, so has white just making a normal developing move. But now let's say white captures. That's probably a concession. But just to illustrate the point, now white's knight can come in. And now it says black is much better, and G6 is indeed one of the moves. Not to mention you're getting D4 for free.
Right.
So never mind. So if I sit at the chessboard and realize that on Queen E7, my knight's, for tactical reasons, my queen's not going to be disturbed there for a while. Actually, no, and I'm missing something I'm actually being very stupid. So the other thing white can do, white has another knight that can disturb you here. Okay, white has this knight. I wasn't seeing it on F1. Okay, now this makes a little more sense. And actually what the engine wants me to do is admit your error and play the queen to C7 where it's not going to be disturbed by a knight. But, okay, now the engine's saying G6 is fine. And that's when you would play G6. And maybe that's some of black's logic. Well, anyway, Korobov played G6. Now, in this position, Stockfish is saying there's no difference between any of these three moves. Okay, queen c7, putting the queen there, but I wouldn't put my queen in the jaws of white's rook like that necessarily. I guess, though, do I want to retreat the queen to b8? I don't know. I don't think that's where I want my queen. I want my queen to be in contact with the e5 square, as will be a theme in the game. Anyway, so Stockfish says not to care. But in fact, I think this was, I winced when I saw that this is what Black had played when I was positioning the window without seeing the engine evaluations. Because
just from your explanation, Ken, it may be that he was trying to delay the decision to move it to e7 or c7, the queen.
Yeah.
And so he was thinking, I'm going to play g6 anyway, so I'll wait to let you know where my queen's going to be.
Yeah.
Either on e7 or c7, it's on the line with a rook, so it doesn't look comfortable.
Yeah, but the thing is, e5 is a fixed obstacle. You're not going to worry about the rook on e1 so much. Whereas,
Right.
you know, the c file could come open more easily.
I agree.
Yeah. But anyway, so that's what he played, and that might have the logic. Now, okay, so now we'll continue. White plays this, which is undermining. Already, you can postulate White's move as undermining the dark squares because you're
Right.
hitting this knight. Okay, so now Black plays Queen e7, and you know the g6 move does restrict this knight on f1. So it comes out to e3 anyway. Okay, so now we capture a pawn, but right now I feel a great breeze, you know, on my dark squares here. And now again, my immediate instinct, and if I had decided to take on d4 with Black, I would execute the move Queen e5 immediately because you want to, you know, try to get some sort of block on the dark squares. But instead, and I wouldn't even think of e4 as a weakness. Yes, okay, Black has 3 pieces that could take on e4, but I wouldn't even consider taking on e4 in this position. Nevertheless, that's what Korobov did, and the engine didn't mind it. If we go back, well, actually, the engine likes my Queen e5 move best, but knight takes e4 is close. So, okay, knight takes e4. Okay, so now, ooh.
Yeah.
So, you know, knight h6 is a slight threat in this position. So, okay, so now Black has to plug that up with the queen. Now, I will give Korobov some credit. In a couple more moves, he's going to get the kind of defensive formation that I was imagining. But in the meantime, White's bishop comes through, Black's rook comes up, and now we drive away White's knight. So instead, capture that. Okay, White takes this. Now, Black has shed a pawn, but there we go. The queen is now on e5. And so this, you know, means that Black's center is stable as long as the fall of d6 does not have grave consequences. Okay, I mean, d6, then b6 is going to fall, and Black is already, Black is not a pawn down in this position because Black captured a pawn earlier on e4. But still, Black's pawns are significantly weaker than White, so you really have to be able to maintain the position. Okay, well, White captured on d6. And now here's another instructive moment. Okay, so, you know, this is another case of the wisdom of the proverb, all rook endings are drawn. Okay, so it turns out, and again, I'm unapologetically saying this having looked at the computer's evaluation, but this turns out to be maybe some miscalculated tactics, thinking that you would get counterplay this way, and the evaluation slips half a pawn.
Well, doesn't it? I mean, RG takes g6 looks like a threat. If you play rook d8.
If you play what?
Rook d8, then you just take with the g rook. You take on g6, and then bishop.
Oh, that's true. No, actually, no. At the end of that, Black plays king e7. White goes rook d7 check. You take. Ooh, it's worth playing this through, I guess. Okay. Well, actually, let me say the move first, though.
Oh,
is
okay.
that the engine says that Black can keep some kind of balance. Maybe if we look ahead, it's not so balanced by playing off the bishops and maybe having enough counterplay. So the other principle with rooks is you need your rook to be active, and it's worth shedding a pawn to have an active rook. Okay.
Well, this does look a little drawish.
Yeah, the little drawer. Well, it's but it is a clear pawn with
But yeah,
the head.
well, white's clearly got the advantage. But
Yeah. So anyway, okay, but all right. So that's one thing. But well, I have to give credit to Karpov. He's playing better in the tournament than I am. Hey, I'm not in the tournament. He's a better player. So he plays this. Now you've got a good point. What happens if white captures on G6? Okay, the evaluation goes down only a little bit. Okay, so now bishop E6, I imagine. And okay, so it's interesting. Actually, there is a tactic here that we're not seeing. So I was thinking that black has to win the bishop back this way. Okay.
Checking takes.
Yeah, and then or make white recover. Okay, we get this, and this I must say this is not good for black. All right, well, rook takes c4, rook takes b6 check. Somehow
and
the
then look,
computer thinks it's a good edge for white. Never mind. Well, I've got to be winning. So
That's winnable.
but black does have a better way. Black can play here. You don't have to do that.
oh, and win the
attack.
bishop that way. I see.
Yes, and win the bishop this way. Yes.
Oh, I missed that. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is and now I mean you are going to lose your bishop too. So it's just that this
That's more defensible. Yeah. What is it? Yeah. I guess so.
And rook d7 check.
Yeah. Rook d7, take the bishop, and
Bishop
you're
and
still
this
2
is
pawns
a
up.
way to get some
Yeah.
counterattack. Yeah, it's still 2 pawns, but maybe black's going to get one of them right away with the check. So you don't want b6 to forward check. That's why. And if you go to h6,
Yeah.
okay. So you have to go to f8. So I don't like this. So yeah. So let's see. So bishop e6, king f8, rook takes d. It's saying that the line I was looking at first. Sometimes chess engines have hash collisions here. So it's saying that this isn't so bad for black, but I don't know. Well, yeah, it's the eval when I actually play the move is a whole pawn higher than when the engine was looking ahead.
Yeah.
You have to be a little careful with chess engine evaluations here. But in any event, well, so Serrano didn't play that, and that is the top move. So instead, Serrano played the natural move. Now black tries to come against white's pieces. Now, I know black should play rook e5. It's hard to say what black really missed because this seems pretty obvious. Playing your bishop back, defending a pawn, and now after this, the game's just hopeless for black. So the rest is just a mop-up operation. There's not really
I agree.
any finesse in it. And actually, I will say though that white's upcoming sequence is a very good example of regaining control over a position. So it's just worth watching how white completely outflanks black, as white should be able to do with 2 pawns ahead. But okay, so now we get that, and now we put pressure there. And now, black has been driven completely back in this position. White repeated moves, I don't know why. But now white just plays rook d2 and says to black, what are you doing? I defended a2.
Yeah.
Your rook on c3 is doing nothing. It's kind of trapped. So black plays here, and now white has a nice tactic to finish the game off. So we push the passed pawns. Now that's a very natural mistake, and this f5 move is a very pretty move. So is this the type of combination with king and pawn endings happens all the time? Where you can force a passed pawn through. Now, if black takes with this pawn, you've got a passed pawn. But if black takes with the bishop too,
It's same thing.
Same thing. And now you can't take that because of rook d5 winning your bishop.
Right.
So anyway, Serrano to desperation played this. And I don't know what. This is just all desperate play.
Yeah.
and resigned.
It's just weeping and wailing and gnashing of teeth now.
Right. So nice game by White, but
Yeah.
it'd be interesting to jive our impressions against the detailed champion analyst like Mikhail Marin. So if Mikhail Marin ever sees this, he can take us to school, I guess, on what the positional themes were. Anyway, okay.
Well, I
All
would
right.
have the G rook to rook takes on G6 check in a heartbeat. I mean, that was the first thing that flashed through me. So I'm interested in why he didn't play that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's
He
a
might
question
just
of,
have a better feel for the end game, thinking that the end game was won.
yeah, or just wanting to put your rook in the center and black
Yeah.
has no play.
Yeah.
Maybe he thought about it. Maybe we can get a clue by looking at the times. No, the times don't
Well,
scroll. I have to look
yeah.
at the times in
That's
the
okay.
file.
So
Yeah.
I'm still curious. Like, if he wins this tournament, what does he get? Just the individual title of the tournament itself, or
I guess so. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's check. Click on the information tab. Okay, let's see. EICC.
Oh, it's a European Championship,
Yes, European Individual Championship. Yeah. By the way,
a major tournament then. Yes.
Yeah, this tournament is a real boon to my work and my calibrations, because I'm screening this tournament officially. My calibrations are spot on for this tournament, including my pandemic lag estimates for young players. Their ratings still have not quite caught up, and it's a statistically significant difference. Anyway, oh, here it is. Okay, so this is what I was saying before. The European Individual Championship is a qualification event for the FIDE World Cup. So that's the point. It's not a qualification directly into a higher stage of the championship cycle, but it is a qualification event for places in the World Cup, of which quite a few are going to go to Europe.
Right.
So that's completely fair. So 23 players will qualify. So that's another important thing about this tournament.
Right.
It's not just the battle for first place.
Exactly.
It's the battle to get into the top 23. And now let's see if a female player, so we now have a sole leader on the female contingent, will be able to get there. So this is, so the new leader among women is Teodora Injac of Serbia, hometown, or is Croatia? Wait a second. That's a Serbian flag, right? Serbia. Okay, whoops, that's funny. Oh, well, I guess, let's see. I may be displaying some ignorance here. Okay. Oh, yeah, that's the Serbian flag. Okay. I just like the Croatian flag because the Croatian flag literally has chess on it. Okay. All right. So, yes, that is the Serbian flag. That's not a chessboard. Okay, there we go. All right. So, okay, so now she's white against international master Jakub Kosakowski, rated 100 points higher.
Right.
And so here we go. And now what I want to convey about this game is the remarkable fighting quality on both players. Because we talk about games where one player attacks on the king side and the other player attacks on the queen side.
Sure.
Or we have games where they castle on opposite side and each attacks the king on the opposite side. Okay. Or we have games where one player attacks on the king side and the other person attacks on the center. Well, this is the rare game where both players attack on the king side. But it starts off with this variation. Okay.
Wow.
And again, I have not taken time to look up where book begins or ends, but this is a
this
Catalan
is the
style
book. Yeah.
gambit line, and okay. So again, they're already obviously very fighting, uncompromising chess. Black has 3 against 1 on the queen side. White could undermine the queen side or play on the king side or play in the center, which is what happens. And now, okay, so we are attacking here. The engine says this is fine for black, but this is already, this is a position where you're going to have a battle on both sides of the board.
You're starting to get a little nervous if you're black unless you're very comfortable in this type of position.
Right, but also, yeah, I guess you're right. I mean, again, there are weaknesses on the dark squares, but look, if black wants to counterattack, you can have cannons on G7 and F8 real quickly here. So, so this is a very versatile position. And there are two bad pieces. And the game, I think, really revolves around the fate of these two pieces. White's knight on A3 and black's knight on B8. So, okay, why don't we attack here? This is the engine saying black's completely equalized here. But, you know, there's a level where you just want to play chess. All right, so it's a little scary for black. Well, not really. Now, okay, so engine says that black should have played it to F7 instead of D7. I'd rather go to D7 because it's not going to be attacked by the knight again. Oh, okay. But, you know, and again, I actually think we should just ignore the engine evaluations. Now, if the engine thinks that Queen H6 is a slip, I don't see anything wrong with the move. You know, just for normal chess playing. We were hitting black's rook on F8. That's why white's knight could not be captured. So now you play your knight back, and now black's knight comes in. That was bound to happen. And again, the engine thinks that's a mistaken timing. And what the engine says instead is that black should do something about the bad piece. But okay, this is such a natural move.
Yeah, yeah.
Now white plays rook e4, but it's white's attacking now again, and actually rook g4 check
Dangerous.
is a dangerous threat. So we play this first. White goes back now. The engine says white should put on h5. I don't know. You just don't know in this kind of position. So this is a real fighting game. Okay, f5 happens anyway. White captures, but now here's the counterattack that I'm talking about.
Right.
Okay, black's got the queen on g7 instead of the rook, but it's
maybe saying go to f5, queen h5 earlier, so that f4 is not as powerful.
Yeah, that could be. Yeah, so you have to calculate all these tactics.
Right.
So concrete calculation being needed. Anyway, so now, but this is, white's playing attacking moves back. Okay, so now the question is whose king is more open? And the point is black has the single most useful piece to aid an attack. That's the knight on d6.
Right.
And you already can
in the throat.
Yeah, I can imagine. You can already visualize smothered mate combinations in this position. Or you can sacrifice a rook, bishop, and knight to get white's queen away from e4, and then queen takes d4 check, and knight f2 check, etc. would happen. So it's a dangerous tinderbox for white too. But now here's the funny thing. To my mind, over the next few moves, the real necessity for black is to prevent white's knight on a3 from becoming a useful piece. So it's really fun. Okay, well, there's nothing wrong with rook f7.
Right.
Okay. Now again, here we go. Okay, so this is fine too. Black's counterattacking, but now,
you can. Oh yeah, the a pawn is now possibly you get a rook in that way.
Yeah, white could get a rook in that way. That's a danger. Besides, your queen side could fall apart. But it turns out here that what's really important in this position is to make sure that this knight doesn't have anywhere good to go. And so the move that was actually played was this, which I don't even understand what it was for. Maybe you can help me. But the right move in this position was to continue the advance on this side, because now where does white's knight go? It can't go to e3, can't go to d4. Right. It could go back to a3, but then it has even less point than it did when it was hitting b5.
And the other thing the knight was doing, Ken, was it was defending the d4, so the queen is free.
Absolutely.
So driving it away from that defensive post is also attractive.
Right. So it turns out the only place it can go is e1. Now, you could take the knight, but then you lose your good knight. That's not the point. The real point is that white's knight is actually not so useful on e1 because it's actually blocking a defender of f1. And especially if this bishop got loose, there are combinations of rook and bishop that could be made on f1 in the future. Moreover, the computer says that black can actually get away with this. Okay.
I was even looking at knight to b4 to threaten knight c2, but that the knight on e1 covers that, so taking seems better.
Yeah. Now it says white has white. Okay, so maybe actually, if you think now we're thinking longer with the engine, white's playing knight hf3 and blocking you. But so this is another thing: hash collision with the computer. You can't always trust chess engine evaluations. It says knight b2 equalizes. It's gone to depth 21, but when I play the move, it unlocks the hash table, and now it's saying only 0.19. Yeah, I don't know. Chess engine evaluations jump around. It's statistical fact.
Very guarded.
Okay. Well, anyway, that's not what happened. Okay. So what happened instead is black loses a key tempo, and now.
And why would you play that? I can't think of what the idea was.
Yeah, I could look at the time to see if black was already short on time. So now white's knight actually on a3 is suddenly part of the attack. White is winning.
And you're threatening the rook to g5. So if the bishop moves.
Yeah, that's right. So anyways, now black's attack finally arrives, but it's no longer well timed. It's desperate. So so white's king is actually quite safe. Okay, is this, but I don't see why the bishop couldn't have gone to c8. And now there's actually one nice little sequence of moves here. So yeah. That's right. So this and then this. Okay, and if you take on h6, it's rook g6 check and rook h6 mate. So
that's nice.
Nice to see that. Yep. So black went back. White actually repeated moves and then decided that capturing on f8 was fine. Anything really wins here. Because now black's position is just completely smashed, and black gave up. So really nice attack, fighting game by both players. Very well coordinated game by white, especially because white's pieces always seem to be a little more together than black. Black's knight on b8 never entered the game. So this puts Teodora Inyach, just 2383, but she's got 5.5 out of 9 points in the tournament. So
very nice.
And what position is she in as far as the 23 positions go?
Yeah, well, she was playing on board 85, so that means she was perhaps even outside the top 150 players, but she'll get inside the top 100 out of 480 total players with this win. So
she's still a long way.
84 she was playing, still a long way, but 5.5 out of 9 is it's +2. It's a good score.
I'd like it.
Especially, so I mean, when there are so many 2,500 rated grandmasters in this position. And unfortunately for Alexandra Goryachkina, she lost. She had been among the leaders for a while. So I guess I can just play through this quickly and see what happened there.
Well, that's a pretty impressive rating.
Oh, yes, that's right. Actually, I think, I have to, this tournament will get another data point on whether non-junior female players are 50 to 100 points underrated coming out of the pandemic, as I mused. And at the Munich Women's Grand Prix played about 75 ELO above expectation.
But what's your assumption on that, if you have one?
Well, my guess is, interestingly enough, that let's put it this way: do we have a premise that opportunities for women in in-person chess have not been as great as opportunities for men, even knowing that there are tournaments like this one where women are eligible to compete? Are they encouraged to, or are they promoted to as much? Okay. Are they able to win prizes as well? Do they have those inducements? So do we answer yes or no to that?
Well, for the sake of the argument, I'll just say that everyone has equal opportunity,
Right.
even though we know that others will disagree with that.
Right.
But if we take that as an assumption, that everyone has an equal opportunity to play.
Yeah.
Why would women be different in their ratings post-pandemic?
Very
Yes,
simple.
that's right. So that's the thing. So yes. So the thing is, though, is that the pandemic meant that your avenues for chess improvement had to be more online. And perhaps online, there was greater democracy of improvement. And also, just because it was the pandemic, a lot more people spent more time online. And so that's what I think. I don't know. I haven't done enough research to really ratify this.
So that's an interesting hypothesis, because I think that there must be some truth to that, because anytime they don't face any discrimination, if you can play under a handle, who knows who you are?
Yeah, but it's yeah.
And so you don't get any of the pressures that sometimes female competitors feel in these tournaments. So that's interesting.
Yeah, and even without the anonymity, it's just the opportunity and the the combination of time and opportunity. So, for instance, Alexandra Kostenyuk comes out supercharged this year.
Yeah, that's true.
So we could ask her, what did she do during the pandemic? Did she, maybe she had fewer appearances and therefore spent a lot more time, competing. Of course, there were the women's speed events too. Okay, so those also were a great venue, and Kostenyuk was frontline competition there.
Well, I'm really glad we have people like you, Ken, that can actually look at the data and
Yeah.
rather than just have an opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. So this is really funny. So if I were playing white, I would be fairly happy here unless I had a real sense that my position's loose. I've got a nice center. I've got a bishop.
Yeah.
I wish I had one pair of rooks on the board still, I guess. But it turns out actually that this position is a lot more dangerous for white than I would suspect from looking at the board. Well, yeah, okay, so you're hitting weaknesses on A4 and G4. There we go. But now it turns out that white just makes a misjudgment. White should play H4, and instead white plays H3. And for a very strange reason, H3 is a losing move. So
H4 would answer Queen takes A4 with H5.
I guess that's the point.
So
in other words, white has to hit back here.
Right.
Okay, so Queen takes A4.
And
then
H5 would. Well, I'm not so sure now.
Well, it says equal. It says black wants to sack the knight.
And take the
knight H8 is just not so good.
It's messy.
So that's why. So what it says for black to do instead is to play this knight here.
Yes.
And then you do get to, to rock black's horses on their heels.
Right.
So now white's still a little worse. I don't know. I play Queen C4 here and still think I'm playing to the edge. So
you're not alone there.
Yeah. So anyway, but however, after H3, it turns out white has no counterattack, and
you just dropped another pawn.
You dropped the pawn.
Can't afford to do.
Yeah, and it's breezy for white. Well, black's Queen D5. I don't know. You always have to look at these positions. It's weird when natural moves get dunked by the engines. Of course, the playing of natural moves that get dunked by the engine is what tells me that the players are not cheating. So,
yes. Good point.
However, okay, so this is
probably just be getting time. Yeah.
Yeah, just that. And again, I have not looked at the time taken by the players, and a lot of the explanation of the game goes through there. So what's happened is that black sacrificed a piece, and white is now going to try to win another piece, and this move let white back in the game. This is super tactical here.
Yeah.
So let's see if we can think what black should have played here. I would say Queen D4 check to cover the. No, you've got to cover F7.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's see. All right. So the engine's not coming back in time for me to see what it's saying here, but it's saying that that now with E6, white could have had a successful counterattack, but Play queen 8 or c3. I guess white's up a piece, and if you stabilize your
And yeah,
position,
you can, f6 prevents it, but I was going to say bishop e5 would.
yeah. Now white cannot get to that diagonal, and this is
Right.
very bad. Yes, okay. So it was a dogfight in the end, and white just got outplayed. And whether this was time pressure, we don't know. Okay. Anyway, so
e6 was a good attempt, but yeah, that was a great fighting game.
yeah. So
Well, obviously, we have many more fighting games in women tournaments per se. However, with all due respect, and especially that a couple of days ago was March 8th, Women's Day.
International Women's Day.
Yeah, but we can hide the truth from our listeners. Men are much stronger players overall than females. It's just a medical fact. You cannot fight that, regardless what you'll say, that they're improving and they're so great and they are getting some gains here and there or so on. But overall, they're just much weaker players overall. Okay, how many female players are in the top 100? One, maybe two? No, one.
two, yeah. But although we've had
So
female players get into the world's top 10, Judith Polgar, but yeah.
That's it. It's the same situation in the time of Nona Gaprindashvili. She was somewhat successful in the men's tournament, but she was probably the only one in top 100 at that time, and nothing happened with Judith Polgar and Hoi Fine. Same situation.
Yeah, that is one of my projects, to try to find the origin of the gender gap in chess. And I have, in fact, done some work along those lines, but I'm waiting for time to partner with two people, actually. There are two people on the North American continent who are potential partners in the work, trying to pinpoint where the gap starts coming. Because for girls, it seems to be equivalent from what I can tell.
I'm more interested in when it goes away, and if it goes away. I think what I've seen in the United States is that women have been given the chance, girls have been given the chance to compete and get high ratings at young ages. And then they seem to have developed the confidence to compete, and they don't seem to care who their opponent is. In the old days, it would be like one strong woman versus 50 strong men. And every guy didn't want to lose to the one woman who was in the field. And, that's going to change. And when there's enough women that are strong competing together, I think that we're going to see some new results. And these women really, it took an exceptional woman like the Polgar sisters that could compete in that environment. And now, if there's more women at their base, then I think there will be more women at the top. I think that's just inevitable, but who knows?
Jim, thank you for a nice talk, and maybe that will encourage even more women to play. But if you really want to go for a cause, go 100 years ago when Vera Menchik was playing in men's tournament, and she defeated actually quite a few grandmasters, and some of them were very strong, and there was even something which was called the Vera Menchik Club.
Yes, that's
exactly,
right. Yeah.
Which included many grandmasters that she beaten. And apparently neither Gaprindashvili or anybody else achieved the actual results of Vera Menchik. Mind you, so what's happened in the meantime in the last 100 years, that men became even stronger than they were and much more numerous than they were 100 years ago, and females still the same thing, one in top 100. That's over.
Well, in the European Championship, the 460 men, 20 women.
Now, the problem with female players is that they are indeed playing almost on the same level as schoolboys. So if you take school age of up to maybe 10, even 12 years old, probably 10, okay, I would agree even with 12, they're about equal. But after 12, all of a sudden, I think they're losing interest to chess. They're becoming more interested in few other things.
Well, we can say outside of chess, this is true of STEM in general, the science,
Yeah.
technology, engineering, and
Absolutely.
And I'm very strongly involved in that, of course. Yes.
Right. Right. So, and those are also societal pressures. Like at the age of 10 and 12, they start to care about what their peers think of them. And then, you know, and if you're pursuing, this is Peggy Orenstein wrote a book called Schoolgirls where she outlines how in science classes, the teachers call on the boys and stop calling on the girls. And, you know, when the girls show that they're good at it, they get teased by the boys. So there's a lot of factors that go into this, and I don't know if it's going to change. Certainly not overnight, but I think as society progresses, you know, I don't think there's any biological reason for the difference. I think it's societal.
Sorry, I would strongly disagree with you.
Yeah.
Because many years ago, Nava, my wife, she became a bronze medal winner on the first board in Chess Olympiad, and she played a draw with Nona Dobrindashvili. She defeated a very strong Grandmaster Verzi and Pia Kramling. And when we came back to Canada, Canadian Chess Magazine at the time, they asked Nava to write an article. Now, at that time, she would defeat 99.9999 male players in Canada. However, the name of the article, what she asked to write, why men are stronger players than females. So that was quite an undertaking, and I helped her to prepare this article. And we went to a few studies. One was done by Johns Hopkins University, and they insisted that the chemispheres of brain chemispheres of male and female wired differently. So the chemisphere, the brain chemisphere, which is responsible for chess and mathematical reasoning and so on, is much stronger and better developed, or even forget about developments, just God or somebody else created that part of hemisphere in the brains of men and women are different. It doesn't mean that females are inferior to males, not at all, because in some areas females are much better equipped to compete with men. But unfortunately, chess is not part of that curriculum. Chess is different. So males biologically are much better equipped than females.
Is that true for music?
True for music. Depends what you're talking about. If you're talking about creation, like being composers of music, obviously males are probably 1,000 times more gifted than females. It's quite evident, whether it's classical music.
Actually, there used to be more equality of women composers in the past, although they didn't get the exposure.
No, they are composing, and some of their music is not so bad. But if you take all the history of classical music, it's 1,000 to 1 in favor of males. If you'll take the art of actually playing actual instruments, it's maybe instead of 1,000 to 1, maybe it's 850 to 1. It's about the same story. They're just not.
Well, in my professional computer science field, though, there is equality of orders of magnitude. So it's not a factor of 100, like you're saying. It's a single-digit factor, but it is, a factor of 5, 6, 7, or 8. Richard Lipton and I wrote an article noting that program committees in a conference had been 56 to 8 female, but even that is a factor of 7. So,
this is excellent record. This is what you should promote. That females have disadvantage only 7 to 1, which
well,
is
and there are indications it can be brought under 5. Well under 5. So
in next 850 years, that's exactly what's going to happen. But we should be very patient with that.
Yeah, and we were calling out 56 to 8 as being extreme. So whereas other areas have managed to be a little bit close to it. As saying, from what
No, I'm
you're-
pretty sure if you will
Theoretically,
research enough, I think you will find some areas where females probably could compete on equal with men. Very difficult to find those.
Well, I think
Yeah. In fact, well,
still want to broaden the base, and when you broaden the base, then the top goes
Yeah.
higher.
So
Yeah.
let me actually screen share
That's
one
what I-
article that I wrote several years ago on the blog. So I just have to find it here. Let's see, absolute firsts. Here it is.
Oh, Nick,
Okay.
I can't hear you.
Yep. So okay, so I'm just going to screen share
Verbal
this.
skills. That's
Finally.
Yes.
verbal
Okay.
skills. If you look at law profession today, more than 50% are females. And then they did studies, the amount men talk and women talk. Women talk about 2 or 3 times more than men talk. And they love
I'm
to
pretty sure there are a lot.
right.
Yeah.
There are a lot of female lawyers in divorce law.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, there's more right now, and more female lawyers in law school today than there are male, and there's more females in school in general than there are male things. But it's the verbal skills are stronger, and the quantitative scores aren't as good.
Right.
But-
Well,
Yeah,
this
I would
article.
agree with that. I would agree with that.
This article by me makes a very simple point. In a lot of walks of life, we talk about the first women X. Okay. And Bethune, Buffalo's Louise Bethune was the first woman member of the American Institute of Architects. But in computing, there are women who have been the absolute first, going all the way back to Ada Lovelace, of course, but the ENIAC programmers, these were the first major programming team in the 1940s. Grace Hopper designed the first compiler. She designed the COBOL programming language. Okay, Mary Hawes, Jean Samdet, and Gertrude Tine further development of COBOL. And then, of course, Margaret Hamilton was real. The term software engineer was I think in some tellings invented for her. Okay, she wrote code for the space program. And then Alan Kay, who by the way popped up on the blog, the male designer of Smalltalk, but Smalltalk 80 was revised by leading a women. Okay, so co-leading women. So that's to say, it's happened quite a few. And this was, we ran an all female distinguished speaker, and Cynthia Rudin was a student of mine as an undergraduate for a while.
Listen,
Shout out to her.
I don't deny there were exceptional women scientists like Marie Sklodowska-Curie and several others. One area where I would recognize their achievements is obviously pop music, popular music, where singers like Whitney Houston and some others, Beyoncé, who is charging $700 per ticket. There are some great achievements.
Yes. Which on our money shows, we say, don't pay that much for those tickets.
I think that's not a good investment.
Make an offer, say $450. $450, maybe.
I would negotiate for that. Well, my experience, because I used to coach high school, middle school, and elementary school chess, and I coached a couple of FIDE masters, Will Stewart. They became FIDE masters, Will Stewart and Kazem Ghulamai. And Kazem was one of the top bug house players in the world. But there was a young woman, Chevalier Cascavar, and you know what happened? She basically dropped out around middle school, which is not unusual.
Not
Then
unusual.
she starts trying to come back later on in high school, but you missed all those years of development. And so what happens is that at least what I've saw empirically was that you have these huge amounts of kids that play in elementary school. When they get to middle school, that number shrinks dramatically. All of a sudden, both the men and the women, or the boys and the girls, they just drop out. More the girls than the guys, but a huge dropout rate when they hit middle school. Part of it could be a reality check, because mom and dad goes, "Oh, you're real smart, real good, go play," and then they get their rear handed to them through elementary school, and they go, "Well, maybe you should go try to do something else." But I don't know. But that's just been my experience, is that they drop out all in the middle school range. So they never develop, and you won't see the top players becoming female players, because you need those years of development, or you're not going to be good. Because we all know that, if you haven't reached like master status by the time you're in your early teens, you can forget it. I mean, it's
I started playing it. My first rated game, I was 15.
Pardon?
At my first rated game, I was 15. So
Yeah.
that proves that,
Right. Yeah. Well,
I had a limit.
there you go. You cap out a lot.
Nick,
You know,
there was,
That's what I tell myself anyways. That's the
I
only
remember I read one interview in magazine New in Chess, and it was interviewed with one female grandmaster, and it was the same subject was discussed why girls are quitting chess around mid school, and she answered, you know why? Because girls are much smarter than men. When you consider how much time you have to spend to master theory and to get to some kind of rating, even let's see 2200, try that.
There's got to be something better I could do with
You'll
my
spend
life.
so
than
many
to-
hours and years of your life. In the meantime, you can make much more progress in computer
I
science,
should get a law degree.
biology,
Not
and
playing
just
chess.
almost anywhere.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The return on investment, Sasha,
Absolutely,
the
it's
ROI.
shocking.
Mhm.
It's
You know,
shocking.
so-
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I saw the dropout on between elementary and middle school to be
And
unbelievable.
that's well documented. Nick.
Some of them come back in high school, and then the thing is, who knows where else they go for college. But frankly, if they haven't hit, they're never going to go pro unless you hit like GM status when you're like high school. I mean, it's just that competitive. So it's really it's just the way it is today.
Just in my experience growing up, there were no such things as 12-year-old masters, and now it's just,
If you're not
Not
grandmaster by 12, you
Yeah.
should quit. Actually,
I mean, the bar is just
You're not great.
rising
absolutely.
or lowering, I guess. I don't
Well,
know.
on Quora, I don't know if you ever go to that website, QUORA. There's always people going, "Hey, I'm playing on Lee chess. I'm 1900 now, and I'm 32 years old. Can I become a grandmaster?"
Yeah.
Well, if you want to be honest, the answer is no. You have no chance. Every now and
Not,
then,
not in this life.
Yeah.
Maybe that's
Yeah.
in some other life.
That's right.
Not in this.
Better luck next lifetime.
yeah, next life, but not the,
Well,
then
we
it's
see.
all during the early years when almost won the state championship when I was 17. The next time I won, it was 21. First time I won it, and then 22. Okay, I could play back then, but then law school got in the way, and you can forget it. Chess was just like it was over.
It happens to most people, I think, and that's what in the United States Chess Federation, the dropout rate in college age is staggering as well. Because
Oh, really?
once you go to college, there's still more academic pressures, and you're trying to do other
Yeah.
things. And,
That was exactly, well, you could say that's what happened to me, of course, but I
Yeah.
was actively seeking other things. So,
right.
Right.
what can you
Well,
say?
even if you.
I must bid you adieu. Thank you so much for the discussion. And
Yes, we're almost done.
I have a 1
I
o'clock.
just want to mention, since it's Women's Month, and I would like to mention that the U.S. Chess Championship
Oh.
women's section, they show absolutely incredible chess, very fighting games and very interesting games, and maybe that's what we should not underestimate their role in fighting chess, at
thank you very
least.
much.
So,
Yes.
Sasha, we have some comments from viewers. Here's one. Have you seen the Queen's Gambit?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
We've seen
Yeah.
that and enjoy that, and it's a
Okay.
great.
And then another comment from another viewer. Have they banned those grifters yet? Keep getting beaten just because of artificial intelligence bull. That would be
Ooh.
for you, Ken.
That's for another show, maybe.
That's for another show. Yeah, that's what
Oh,
I
okay, we'll do that. So again, congratulations to all women chess players with International Women's Month, and
I think that was for but we're meaning chess cheaters, not not
good.
AI in the scientific sense.
Right.
Okay.
are there a lot
All
of female chess cheaters? Ken?
Yeah, there have been. That is one place where women are not underrepresented. Let's say. So, unfortunately,
So maybe
I'm
they
talking about during the pandemic. So
maybe they should improve their cheating skills, and so then there will be on equal with
I
men
mean,
players.
let's put it this way: school kids are school kids. Okay. And one thing is, if I find, as a matter of science, that there's no difference between men and women in the school kids stage, then you won't be able to attribute it to brain. You still have your nature versus nurture question, but it's going to shift the equation to other aspects of biology than the brain. and nurture in society. So anyway, but that's the thing. I have not yet done that work.
Okay, Ken, looking forward
Okay.
to
All right.
to your study.
Mhm.
And in the meantime, I wish you a very successful
Thank
week
you very much. Yep.
in all
Okay.
endeavors, and
Yep.
all the best to you all. Thank you
Okay.
so much.
Yep.
Bye bye, everybody.
Bye bye.